My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my list of the best characters in Game of Thrones. And if you haven't seen the show, there's going to be spoilers mentioned, so there's your warning. But before I get to the best characters, I do want to mention the three worst characters. There's not enough for me to make a whole list, but I do want to mention them. So, the third worst character is Tommen. This guy is as boring as it gets. He has no real personality. He has no real stance in anything. He's pushed and pulled all over the place. And I get that's the point of his character, but it's not even done in an effective manner, so I really hated him. The second worst character is Grey Worm. This guy just kind of stands there and does nothing. He's got a romance where he doesn't show any real emotion. He's just stoic to a fault, and I get the essentialness of that for a warrior, but when it comes to a compelling character, he just did nothing for me. But the worst character is, well, you've guessed it, it's Bran. How could it not be? He is, even in the great seasons of this show, he's always been boring. There's not a moment where he's on screen in which I'm glad we're focusing on him instead of anybody else. And the fact that he becomes king at the end is just a complete joke. So those are the three worst characters, but now talking about the best, and you're going to notice some key characters missing from here. So do keep in mind, this is my list. Your opinion does not matter here. Well, it does in the comment section, but this is my list. And also, I'm doing the most consistently great characters. There are some characters that would be number 1 or 2 or 3 on the list at a certain point, but then in the last few seasons they get absolutely ruined, so they didn't make the list. So, anyways, my 10th favorite character is Ramsay Bolton. This guy is just an evil, despicable piece of shit, and you love to hate him. And Season 5 and 6 are weaker seasons, but they rely on this guy to have any bit of tension or weight to anything going on. Everything he does to Theon in Season 3 is just horrific, and it gets you a real sense of just how messed up this guy is when he pretends to be there to help him, and then he gets him in more trouble, when he surrounds him with those women, and then he, well, you know, and to the point where he just tortures Greyjoy to the point where he becomes his pet. It's just a truly horrific idea, and then we see how he gets the name Bolton, which makes you sick that he gets it, but Jon doesn't. And then how the way he treats Sansa is really horrific, and you just hate him more and more. And then in Season 6, he kills his own dad and brother so he can be the sole Bolton to rule Winterfell. So yeah, like evil character, but he's absolutely needed here, and he serves as a fantastic villain, so that's why he's in 10th place, and the guy who plays him, Ivan, does a great job. My 9th favorite character is someone who's only in one season, but I think he makes a huge impression, and that's Oberyn. I love how Pedro Pascal plays him. He has so much life and personality to him, but I also love how he's just open about what he's doing at King's Landing, about how he plans to kill the Mountain and the Lannisters. It's really refreshing in the fact that he ends up helping them in some ways, only for him to see an opportunity to fight the Mountain to defend Tyrion. And that moment is so fantastic. Like, he's out for revenge against his sister, and he gets the upper hand on the Mountain, but he can't put down his own personal feelings towards him. He gets cocky, and he gets distracted for just a little bit too long, enough for the Mountain to slam him to the ground and pop his head like a balloon. And it's a really horrific death. So just the fact that this guy has lots of life and personality, he shows real heart, especially in that one scene where he talks to Tyrion, and the fact that he gets a tragic death due to his own character flaws just make for a very compelling character. My 8th favorite character is Ygritte, who's played by Leslie Wars, I believe is her name. I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Anyways, I didn't realize until just recently that she's actually married to Kate Harington in real life, and you can tell watching these seasons with her. She has so much chemistry with him, and I just love her personality. Her outlook is pretty much It's not the Wildings and the Night Watch, it's just me and you against the world. And I love how you see that on display throughout, and it does make for a very sweet romance in certain moments. She takes John out of his comfort zone time and time again, but you kind of see that he starts to enjoy it, and the fact that the two become enemies again just adds real emotional weight to their relationship and to this character. And her death is one of the more tragic ones of the show. So I think this is such a great character, and I love what she brought to it. So that's why she's in 8th place. In 7th place, we've got Robb Stark, who might not be everyone's choice, but I think the story here is really tragic. Like, you've got a young man just trying to figure out the world and what kind of ruler he wants to be, and he is supposed to marry someone, but he follows his heart and marries someone who's good-hearted and pure, and how that ends up being the death of him. It just makes for a very compelling character arc. His own flaws caught up to him and ended up killing him, because we do see how naive he is. In his quest to be an honorable man, he shows the same flaws that Ned does, but you just see it on full display here, and I think Richard Madden plays this character perfectly. And yeah, I love this character. My 6th favorite character is Arya Stark. Now, I'm perfectly aware that in the second half of this show, she's given shit material to work with, but Maisie Williams just brings a certain likability to this world that even when the writing isn't as good, she's still got a great personality that I do enjoy. And everything with her in the first 4 seasons, I love. She's the one person who made Tywin smile. And then you've also got her relationship with the Hound, where there's a great contrast between the two of them. And the fact that she's so keen on being a warrior and all that really works for me. Her training with Syrio in the first season is great, and I just think she's a very well written, likable, charming character that I enjoy throughout. My 5th favorite character is kind of like my 10th pick, but it's Joffrey. Joffrey is such an unlikable piece of shit. Watching him die gave me more relief than 1,000 lying holes. He was just that despicable of a person, and he's absolutely essential for the first half of this show. Like, because you need that despicable character. You need to hate someone as much as you hate him. It adds so much tension. It adds stakes. It makes you feel for Tyrion and Sansa and Ned. And this is the perfect evil son of a bitch that you love to hate. That is essential for a show like this. And I think Jack Gleeson doesn't get the credit he deserves. He is so incredible here. So yeah, fantastic character, fantastic villain. 4th is Sandor, or aka the Hound. I don't think he needed to come back in season 6. If he died at the end of season 4, I felt like that would have been an acceptable end. But I do like the fact that he does end up killing his brother. That was built up to pretty well. And on top of that, he does get a few last nice moments with Arya. Well, he tells her that he did fight for her, and well, she ends up calling him by his name, showing that she has come to care for him. And it's a character that I think was wrapped up well enough, even though I didn't like the fight. And I like the fact that even though he works for Joffrey and he kills the Butcher Boy if needed, there is some tragic aspects to his past. And I like how there's even a point where he's just like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm leaving King's Landing. Good luck, King. I don't care what happens anymore. And he just goes on the run. There's just something very human about that response, especially because you see how loyal he was up until that point. Like when he's fighting the Mountain in season 1, as soon as Robert stood up and told him to stop, he instantly bows down. And now he's just done. He just can't take these evil scumbags anymore. He's done. And he kind of does start to become a father figure in some ways for Arya. He's still a heavily flawed guy, but I did like the relationship between the two of them, and I enjoyed this character. Roy McCain doesn't get the credit he deserves as well, because I think he plays this character very well. A bit too much profanity in the second half of the show where he feels self-parody in certain moments, but overall, excellent character. Then my 3rd favorite character is Ned Stark. he dies in season 1, yet you still feel the weight of his death seasons later. Sean Bean plays this character so perfectly. He's just this good, honorable man. His only flaw in the first season was that he cheated on his wife and had a bastard son. And it turns out that wasn't even the case. But he'd rather take the reputation of cheating on his wife than to put his nephew's life in danger. And there's something so noble about that he doesn't care about how he looks to everyone else. He always believes in doing the right thing no matter what it may cost him. He owned up to things he didn't actually do just so he could save his daughter's life, and he still paid for it with his life. And it kind of shows how this is someone you should aspire to be like, but if you do be like him, you might just die. And I love all the ideas going on with that. I love his relationship with his kids, and I wish we got to see more of him in this show, but also I'm really glad we didn't, because his story and the use of him in season 1 is so perfect. I kept waiting for someone to rescue him last second, and when he actually died, it shocked me. My second favorite character is Tywin Lannister. Charles Dance, absolutely incredible performance. He brings a certain level of gravitas to this show, and he just plays it so seriously, and it's such a great performance. Like, every delivery is just so spot on. And I love the tragic nature of his relationship with Tyrion, how Tyrion is a worthy follow-up. But because of who he is and how he came into this world, Tywin forever lures him. And then you've also got season 2 relationship of him and Arya, which I really enjoyed. And he's really the mind behind everything. He's, what's the expression? The wizard behind the curtain or whatever? The guy behind the curtain? The man behind the curtain? Something like that. He's a guy really behind everything. And I just love how this character's written. There's that one line where Cersei goes up to him being like, Marjorie is trying to manipulate Joffrey, and he's just like, good, he could use some manipulation. And it's, yeah, I love this character. He's played so perfectly. He's consistently great, and the way he goes out is very memorable. Great character, but my favorite character is Theon Greyjoy. He is the most consistently well-written character. He's got this arc, well, he's pretty much hostage to the Starks, but he actually does grow attached to them. He does start to care for them. And then he gets torn between them and his family, and he doesn't know what path to choose, and he chooses a wrong path, and he ends up getting horrifically tortured and mutilated because of it, to the point where he just becomes brainwashed and becomes Ramsay's pet. And it's just disgusting to see in action. And then he sees Sansa, and she reminds him what he could be, and he starts to get better and better from seasons 5, 6, and 7, even though he does fall flat every now and again, but he keeps getting up, and he ends up redeeming himself by the end of this show. So you got this character who is torn between two sides, and then you've got a tragic element to him, and then you've also got the redemptive arc. You just got it all with this guy. I've heard some people call him the most boring character, and I could not disagree more. He's great from beginning to end. Alfie Allen plays him to perfection. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Everyone else on the list went up or down a few spots every now and again. He was always number one. Just great character. And yeah, those are my favorite characters from Game of Thrones. But what are yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin out.